Hey guys, today I'm going to be taking a look at a little film called Citizen Kane. Now, as you can see, I'm nowhere near a theater. So I figured what better time than to pull out my trusty Game Boy Advance and start watching Crystal Clear 160p.
Because until a few weeks ago,
I think I'm gonna have a stroke!
What is the right way to watch a movie? Well, in this modern technological age, everyone's gonna have a different answer. With the rise of streaming services making movies more accessible than ever, the conversation of watching movies the way they're meant to be watched has naturally become a pretty common one in the film community. Some will have you know that if you even dare sneak a peek at so much as a movie clip on your mobile device, you'll be put on the national hit list for degenerate scum on the National Film Association of the World, while others don't really care. The main conflict of the modern day is the side of people who value the movie theater experience above all others and disapprove of people watching films on their laptops and phones, because it takes away from the whole experience. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say one stance is more right than the other, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to deep personal beliefs that vary on how you've come to experience film as a medium. However, I do think it's important to understand both sides whenever discussing an issue, which is exactly what we'll be doing here today. I'll be taking a look at both the casual watcher and the hardcore watcher sides while giving my personal opinions on the matter. Spoiler alert, it's gonna piss somebody off. Well, that didn't narrow it down very much, did it? So why is the theater experience the definitive way to watch movies? Well, it's a movie theater, a place that was designed entirely around the idea of watching movies and selling overpriced snacks. You got the giant screen, grandiose audio, and if your theater is in a dump like mine, really comfy seats. It makes watching a film an event rather than just another thing to pass time by. Like many, I grew up going to the theater and watching films, which are memories that I hold very close to my heart. All the time, you hear countless stories of famous directors having movie theaters be their second homes as children, and how that opened their eyes up to the magic of cinema. And honestly, yeah, movies wouldn't be the same without theaters. But unless you're wealthy, there isn't really another place you can go to get this level of a cinematic experience. However, in many cases, that can be a good thing. Theaters, especially nowadays, are far from being flawless. Going to the movies has become a bit of a normal everyday thing for people to do. Teens go there to get laid, friends go there to talk and be loud, and me and the other 10% of people go there to actually watch a movie. It's a bit unfortunate that these situations have only grown more common as time has gone on, and I think at this rate it's just going to keep getting worse. This is where I really can't agree with people when they say going to the theater is the only real acceptable way to watch movies. Of course, this is just the extreme side of the argument. Most people are cool with just booting up a Blu-ray and watching it on your home TV. However, you may or may not be surprised to know that home video was actually a pretty big controversy at the time of its release. Before having access to watching movies at home, there wasn't any real accessible or affordable way to do so. Cut to 1976 with the release of VHS in Japan. Directors like Steven Spielberg were heavily against the idea of people owning physical releases of movies and refused to have his film E.T. have any sort of home release until years after its theatrical release. In complete contrast to this, you got Martin Scorsese, who actually welcomed the idea of a much more convenient way to watch your favorite movies. Of course, nowadays it's easy to see whose opinion ended up aging the best, seeing as how physical film collecting has become a very common hobby among hardcore filmgoers. That leads us to our current situation, being that films nowadays are pretty much accessible on every device you can think of. I can watch a movie on my PlayStation, I can watch a movie on my Switch, I can watch a movie on my phone, I can watch a movie on my laptop, I can even watch a movie on my goddamn Game Boy. Oh, and let's not forget that people were actually able to watch Inception in Fortnite. I'm not joking, this happened. Is watching a movie like Inception in Fortnite going to give you the same experience as watching it in a theater? No. Of course not, which I think is what the naysayers are trying to say here. Cell phones in particular have been picked on the most by directors in this new age of film viewing, most famously director David Lynch.
It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
I just wanted to know what color you preferred. Was that too much to ask? To an extent, I can agree with what he's saying here, even if it's not worded in the most welcoming way. I mean, yeah, it's a little phone screen that you have to swipe away notifications with. It's obviously not the best way to experience a movie, but that doesn't mean the experience isn't valid at all. High school was when I first started discovering my love for film, and the movie that really made me realize this was Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, which at this point in my life is my favorite movie of all time. Funny enough, though, my first watch of the film was actually on a cell phone. Okay, hold on one second. I just got a text from David Lynch. Okay, let's see. Fuck you, you motherfucker. Okay, well that's not very nice. Yeah, okay, I did it alright, but only because I didn't have any other choice. At that point in time, I really wanted to check the movie out, but wasn't really allowed to watch movies at that level of intensity in my household. If my parents walked in on me watching the Zed scene, there would have been a lot of explaining to do. So to avoid that mess, I popped my earbuds in, pulled up Netflix, and watched Pulp Fiction. And lo and behold, I was completely blown away. More blown away than I had ever been watching a movie before. Do I wish I saw it in a theater instead? Of course, but I don't look back thinking it destroyed my experience. I mean, it was literally the best experience I had ever had watching a movie. Now, as I've gotten older, the need for watching films on a cell phone has gone down significantly, but I don't by any means look down on people for doing so. It's easy to just point at a television and say that, at least, is a much better alternative to phone viewing, but in many cases it's not. I mean, think of someone who can't afford a nice home audio system. Built-in TV speakers are notorious for being absolutely awful, and is that really going to be better than having earbuds in, providing a much more filled audio experience? Situations like those are really important to think about before judging someone purely on how they watch movies. Look, I love film more than popping bubble wrap, but I'm not going to hold everyone else to that same standard. If somebody wants to watch Shrek 2 on their Game Boy Advance, then so be it. It's not going to make me love movies any less. With talk of cell phones, we gotta talk about streaming services. These things have become the new craze of the world, being that they're subscription services that offer hundreds and hundreds of movies to conveniently watch on your television, phone, laptop, basically anything with a screen. Throughout the years, many of these services have gone on to fund some of the greatest films of the last decade, like Netflix with Roma and Marriage Story, or Amazon Prime with Patterson and the Handmaiden. Even if you disagree with their effects on how people are viewing films, it's hard to argue that they're at least not making some sort of positive impact with their originals. But in a repetition of before, we got Spielberg hating on this new way of consuming media. During his film promotion of Ready Player One, Steven said that films that are released on Netflix should be treated like TV releases rather than actual films, meaning they won't be eligible for winning any Oscars and be eligible for stuff like Emmys instead. This is especially crazy to me, seeing as how one of his earliest films, Duel, a movie made for TV, is highly respected among cinephiles as one of the best early director works of all time. I would never in a million years devalue its place among other great works of film because of the fact that it's a made-for-TV movie. Let's not forget the fact that movies like Martin Scorsese's The Irishman only exist because of Netflix's funding. From the sounds of it, it seems like Spielberg's problem should be directed at giant movie studios that refuse to make films that aren't big superhero explosion fests rather than Netflix, who's actually taking risks funding films like these. As a creator, it baffles me how someone like Steven Spielberg could turn a blind eye on the modern studio system, but then try and go against Netflix, who in my eyes is a saint compared to a lot of these studios. He says that in many ways, streaming services are killing movie theaters, and all he wants are for theaters to stay alive for people to experience film in the best way possible. Last year, he announced he was going to try and push a rule to the Academy that bans streaming service films from competing in the Oscars, unless they've had at least a 4-week run in theaters. Now again, if you've been watching this video, you know I prefer the theater experience to anything else, but this is just ridiculous to me as well. If the problem is really in the fact that these films aren't being played in theaters, Steven, please, do us all a favor and go after the big studios who are consistently turning down creative projects in favor of stuff that serves the sole purpose of starting an expensive franchise. Now, I don't want to sit here and act like Netflix is perfect either. I mean, they've had their fair share of crap investments. But I do respect the platform that they're giving new and old creators alike. Whether you're a passionate or casual film fan, watch how you want to watch. Look, if Steven Soderbergh can film an entire movie on a cell phone, I don't see a problem with somebody watching it on one.
So, what is the right way to watch a movie? Well, any way you want, really. That's my phone again. Hello? He said he liked the red shirt more.